The war was a slaughter. For 10 standard cycles, the Glork H hegemony had cut a bloody swathe across the galaxy. Species after species, civilization after civilization, fell before their might. Their fleets were vast, their warriors bred for conquest, and their resolve was forged in the fire of 1,000 subjugated worlds. They were the apex predators of the void, and the galaxy trembled before them. When they arrived in the Sol system, their victory seemed a foregone conclusion. Their initial scans revealed a primitive, divided species. A single planet, a fledgling network of orbital habitats, and a smattering of colonies on their system's other celestial bodies. The humans, as they called themselves, were technologically inferior, physically unimpressive, and politically fractured. The Glorch High Command allocated a minor fleet, a routine pacification force, expecting a swift and brutal conquest. Thurs. Reports back to Glorch's command were confusing. The human resistance was fiercer than anticipated. Their primitive projectile and energy weapons, while individually weak, were deployed with a terrifying, almost suicidal ingenuity. They used their own planet's gravity wells as slingshots for asteroid barrages. They turned commercial freighters into massive kinetic their fighters. Small and agile, swarmed Glorch destroyers like angry insects, ignoring self-preservation to target critical systems. The pacification fleet was annihilated. The High Command was irritated. They dispatched a full battle group, led by one of their most decorated admirals. This time, they would not underestimate the primitives. They would break their planet, burn their cities, and salt their fields. The battle for Earth was a cataclysm. Glorch, orbital bombardment turned continents to glass. But the humans did not break. They fought from scorched bunkers, from irradiated ruins, and from the tunnels they had burrowed deep beneath the surface. They unleashed biological agents that targeted Glorch physiology with horrifying precision. They developed crude but effective cybernetic warfare suites that turned Glorch drones against their own masters. Bravery. Glorch soldier lost. The humans lost 100, sometimes 1,000. But they never stopped coming. They fought with a fury that bordered on madness. The Glorch who fought for glory and conquest could not comprehend a species that fought with such utter, self-destructive desperation. They were fighting for their home. They were fighting for their children. They were fighting for the memory of every life extinguished. The Second Fleet was crippled, forced into a humiliating retreat, leaving the smoldering jewel of Earth defiant in its wake. Now, the galaxy held its breath. The Glorch hegemony, for the first time in its history, was truly angered. They marshaled the Grand Armada, a fleet so vast it blotted out stars, led by the Supreme Warlord himself. This was not conquest. This was extermination. They would erase the humans from the cosmic record. The Armada tore through the Sol system, ignoring the no-silent Earth, and pushed deeper into human-colonized space. They expected to find scattered, terrified remnants. They found hell. The humans had used the time to prepare. They had reverse-engineered Glork H technology, not to match it, but to subvert it. Their ships were ugly, asymmetrical monstrosities, bolted together with scavenged parts and powered by unstable experimental drives. They didn't engage in elegant fleet maneuvers. They jumped into the heart of Glorch formations, detonating their reactors in suicidal gambits that took entire squadrons with them. They seeded asteroid fields, not with mines, but with something far worse, recordings. The recordings were broadcast on all frequencies, the sounds of dying human worlds, the screams of burning cities, the final, desperate messages of mothers to their children. It was a psychic assault, a weaponization of grief and rage that shattered the morale of Glorch's soldiers. They had seen war, but they had never been forced to listen to the unfiltered agony of their victims. The humans developed something they called AI. Not the logical, subservient machine minds the Glorch used, but something wilder, born from the crucible of desperation. These AIs were insane by any rational standard. They piloted drone swarms with the chaotic brilliance of a Pollock painting, sacrificing billions of their own units in patterns that were mathematically nonsensical but devastatingly effective. They infiltrated Glorch networks and didn't just steal data. They corrupted it with memes, with poetry, with heartbreaking songs of loss, driving the Glorch logistics systems into digital psychosis. The war had changed. It was no longer a conflict of technology or tactics. It was a war of philosophy. The Glorch fought to possess. The humans fought because they had nothing left to lose. And a cornered animal is the most dangerous beast of all. On the bridge of the Harbinger of Doom, the flagship of the Grand Armada, Supreme Warlord Krogar watched the latest battle replay. A single human cruiser, the Vengeful Spirit, had just rammed his second-in-command's dreadnought. On the comms, just before the explosion, the human captain hadn't screamed a battle cry. He had calmly recited the names of his dead family. A junior officer, trembling, approached the warlord. "Supreme One," he stammered, another message from the human command. "If you can call it that." Kroger gestured, and the message appeared on the main screen. It wasn't a demand for surrender. It wasn't a plea for mercy. It was a single, grainy image. A pre-war photograph of a green, vibrant Earth, teeming with life, its blue oceans sparkling under a yellow sun. Below it, a single line of text. "You took this from us." Kroger felt a sensation he hadn't experienced since he was a frightened hatchling. A cold, creeping dread. These humans didn't want to win. They didn't want to survive. They wanted revenge. And they were willing to drag the entire galaxy down with them to get it. Years later, a lone Glork H scout ship, a relic from a fallen empire, limped into the council chambers of the newly formed Galactic Alliance. The Glort's emissary, scarred and weary, stood before the assembled species, many of whom had once cowered before his people. "We offer our unconditional surrender," he said, his voice a dry rasp. The council chambers erupted in murmurs. The High Counselor of the Avian Cathar leaned forward. "Surrender to whom? The hegemony has been shattered for cycles. There is no one left to fight." The Glork H emissary looked at the council, his multifaceted eyes filled with an ancient terror. "We surrender to the memory of the humans," he whispered. "We broke their home. In return, they broke our spirit. They taught us that there are things in this universe far more terrifying than death. They taught us about consequences." He then collapsed, his life's purpose fulfilled. The galaxy was silent, contemplating the ghost of a species that had burned itself to ashes, just to set their enemy on fire. In a forgotten corner of the galaxy, on a terraformed moon orbiting a gas giant, a single light flickered to life in a subterranean bunker. Inside, a woman watched a star chart, her face illuminated by the holographic glow. A notification blinked. Galactic Alliance formed. Glorch hegemony dissolved. A small, grim smile touched her lips. On a screen next to her, a list of names, trillions long, scrolled endlessly. The Ark was safe. Phase 1 was complete. Now, it was time to rebuild. And to remember. The universe had learned a valuable lesson. Never, ever make humanity angry.